Alright, this is going to be my Project 64K online multiplayer tutorial. I'm using a live stream Procaster to record it because Cam Studio is retarded. Anyway, download either the XP or the Vista Windows 7, Windows 8 version, depending on which operating system you're using. If you're using Mac or Linux, you're going to want to run this program through Parallels or Wine. I know the XP one works with Wine, and Parallels, you load up another version or another OS, and you can basically run whichever one you like. I don't know how else to run it on Mac, but for Linux, Wine works fine. Wine works fine. Basically, now that you've downloaded it, you're going to open it, drag it to your desktop. I use 7-zip because it's freer, faster, and yeah, just awesome versus WinRare. You can also use WinRare, WinZip. You can also use Extract 2 like a cool kid, even though that's retarded. You should just use technology. Left click, drag it out, please. Jeez, I don't know why people do that dumb shit. Extract 2. Anyway, you open up the folder, you'll find extract and backup plugins and plugins folder. Yeah, the plugin folder will have only 4 plugins in there. This RSP and Audio HLE are the ones you don't touch. Leave those in there forever. The only ones you're going to mess with are the input plugin and Direct3D7, which is actually 3D8. If you hover over it, at least in Windows, it'll give you some information. Where the fuck? Oh my god. Anyway, yeah, this one's a video plugin. The other one's an input plugin. And that's what they do. They control video and control input respectively. If you want to use a different video or input plugin, or they don't work for you, the default ones that I've added, you can use another one from extra and backup plugins folder, which is just a fat folder with a bunch of plugins that also work, but I will not be covering the input plugins or graphics plugins that are not the default ones, because that would just take too much time and so many different machines and blah blah blah, a lot of time. So now that you've downloaded it and you recognize the plugins folder, you can change them. If you're using a N64 controller or any other controller with an adapter, or PS3 controller with a USB cable or Bluetooth, or Xbox controller, when you're using an Xbox controller, it has to be fully wired, not wireless with a charger on it. That doesn't make it wired, you scrubs. That just charges it, you fucking noobs. Anyway, just make sure if it's a 360 controller, it's fully wired. Please do not believe that a wireless 360 controller with the charger plugged in makes it wired, because it does not. Only the PS3 controller can work with USB cable to, or the mini USB to USB, because it actually sends controller data through there when you use it. Pretty cool. Let's see what else. You can get an adapter for 360 wireless. You can get an adapter for GameCube, Xbox, all this other junk. Just Google the adapter that you'd like to use, and once you have your adapter and controller, you can calibrate it. If you're using keyboard, disregard that rant and this following instruction. Now that you have your controller plugged in, your adapter plugged in, I cannot go over adapter, what is it, plugins. No, what are they called? They're not plugins, are they? The DLL files? I don't know what they're called. But just make sure that Windows recognizes it. When you plug it in, it should show up, and hopefully it installs drive. There you go, it's driver. So make sure the drivers work well and your machine recognizes your adapter or controller, because if it doesn't, this is fruitless tutorial, for at least this portion is fruitless for you. So you hold the Windows button and then you press R. Again, I have no idea how to do this on a Mac or a Linux. You're gonna have to calibrate it magically. I don't know, somehow yourself in Google, whatever you got to do. And then you type joy, JOY .cpl for all version of Windows. And then you press enter, you click OK, do whatever you like. This is the fastest way to get to your game controller box. So, as you can see, I have two adapters plugged in. One was my GameCube one, that's for Melee Online. You can find out more about that on Smashboard's Melee discussion, Melee Netplay, the future is now, or something like that, thread. But I'm not going to be configuring that one. I'm going to be calibrating my 64 controller, which is the boom adapter, which is the PS2/N64 one. You just choose your adapter. If you have like a Mayflash, it'll have 2 ports. 2 of them will be showing here. You choose the one that corresponds to the port that's in your controller. If you don't know which corresponds to your controller, you can do a very simple test just by selecting it, going to properties and pressing a button. So I know this adapter corresponds to this controller, so first things first, you test every button. Make sure that every button lights up one of these numbered circles. If one button does not light up, that means it's either broken or something's wrong, it's not being detected. Whatever the case is, your junk isn't working and you want it to work in order for you to play. So all of my buttons are working. You don't test the joystick here, but now you do. So in this case, I'm setting it to reset to default just to display what this axis data looks like when I move the joystick. So it's not, you see this plus sign, it's not going all the way to the edge. I need it to, and it's not. I'm just getting trolled right now. I need to recalibrate. So go to settings tab, calibrate, follow through the wizard. For this part, I usually do several semi-slow but full circles around and return to neutral and continue. It's very important that you don't do it too fast when regarding doing the the calibration of the joystick, and the axes will change depending on if your controller has motions or is motion sensitive. So if you activate for a PS3 controller, and DS3 tool is the name of the program to set up the PS3 controller. If in DS3 tool you set up the 6-axis, those will be there, I believe, and also you have multiple sticks on different controllers, so that you're going to have to do that for those sticks. Some adapters will give you a point of view hat for this area, and that just means it should be the D-pad, I believe. And then sometimes for adapters, like if you have a PS2 or PS1 controller with analog sticks, if you turn on or off the analog button, it'll change the sticks from stick movement to point of view hat. So yeah, you can use that if you have those controllers. A bunch of different options you have. So this is calibrated because once you make sure that if you push all the way up, it hits the top, all the way left, it's left, and so on, and you release it, it's about center. You want them to be about center of each of the boxes of the squares, or I mean each of the edge of the square, even plus sign, and you should be good to go. Move it around a little bit, make sure it corresponds to what you're doing. If it does, you're in the green. Hit apply, OK. You don't really need to hit apply. You can just hit OK if you're a boss. You just hit OK. OK. So now that that's calibrated, you're going to go to the Project 64K folder. Not the zip, the main folder. This is called the Project 64 root or main folder. If I ever talk about root or main folder, it'll be here. You click the 64K ve.exe. It'll be the only application, not application extension, just application. Some people, actually most, won't have .exe displayed. You can do that in folder options, but yeah, that's another junk. Whatever, you can look up how to do that. display known file types for files or something like that. Anyway, open up Project 64 KVE. If this is the first time you install the program, you will see a bunch of unloaded plugin messages. Don't fret, it's not going to blow up. You're going to be safe. Don't worry. Go to click options, you go to controller plugin, or not, excuse me, not controller, but options settings, and you make sure that in the plugins tab, that all of the plugins that you wish to use, in this case there's only one for each, so it's kind of hard to make a mistake. So make sure that those are selected, click OK. And another very important tip I'm going to give to everyone, those including people that are veterans, whatever, you are going to want to, whenever close Project 64K, whenever you make a change that is for the input plugin, the graphics plugin, any online settings, whenever you make a change, if you don't close the program and it crashes on you, those changes that you made will not be saved. So you're going to have to redo them. In order to avoid that potential scenario, whenever I make a change, I just close and reopen because it doesn't hurt. It just doesn't hurt. You know, it can only help. So now that you've set the all the plugins for your plugins folder, you go to controller plugin. Again, I'm only going to be covering the plugins that I have put default because I think they work on most machines, and this, or at least the graphics plugin, should work on most, if not all, machines. And no, definitely not all, but most. And this input plugin is very thorough, and it's the latest stable of the Enrage series of plugins. You can look it up yourself. I might have a link in the description below, probably will, of Enrage's page. That's like some coder or something, the guy's name Enrage. And yeah, this is the latest non-beta, and it works great. It has a lot of functionality. That's why I included it. So first things first, go to these top tabs. Make sure controller 1 is plugged. Controller 2, 3, and 4 are not plugged. And then in controller 4 tab, when you get here, whatever, go to controller pack tab, make sure it's none, and raw data is unchecked for each controller. So you want raw data unchecked, extremely important, and this is none for all 4, not just the 3, the 3 that are unused, the 2, 3, and 4, but also controller 1. So this is what it should look like. For controller pack tab, controller 1 plugged, raw data unchecked, controller 2 unplugged, raw data unchecked, 3 and 4, and so on. Yep. So make sure it looks like that. Next, you're going to want to go to the devices tab. You don't really need the modifiers tab. That's for dumb stuff. Anyway, go to the devices tab, select your controller adapter or controller. If it's detected, you know, you got to get your drivers working, like I said before. So yeah, get your driver situation set up. Anyway, select your adapter or controller, and if you're using keyboard, select this to none, or set this to none. I don't know, for with regards to keyboard play, I don't know what parameters you should use for dead zone or analog stick range, but you should ask a keyboard player on Smashboards or on Chilera. Strong preference to Smashboards because, like, I think, what is a keyboard player? Like, I don't want to direct actual names, so just ask in the appropriate thread and Smashboard 64 section. Ask what parameters you should use for keyboard or keyboard layout setup, whatever. I'm not going to be covering that because I don't play keyboard. So 64 controller for now. Before you map, make sure that dead zone is really high, somewhere between 70 and 100. It doesn't matter, just really high, because it'll help you when mapping. It'll help you because your joystick might register before a button press. Like, let's say you have an older joystick, 64 or not. This can happen on any controller. Whenever you try to input a definition, a button definition, it'll it'll just jump to that stick instead of the button, and that's just annoying piece of garbage. It's terrible. So I just set the dead zone high in order to map. In order to map the buttons, what you do is you click the button that corresponds to the 64 controller, the virtual one that you use to play, and on your physical controller you press the button. So in this case, I'm gonna click up and then press up on my controller. Right hand, left hand setup. So you do that all the way down. All for digital pad, C buttons, and buttons. Set all of those. Leave rapid fire unchecked for online play. It'll just screw up games. Don't do it. Analog stick range, use anywhere between 80 and 100. You can uncheck real N64 range. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, so I can't tell if it works or doesn't work. I don't see any difference when I uncheck or check or use the appropriate stick range, whatever. I recommend using 80 to 100 range. You can test that out to whatever you like when you're testing the game. If it seems a little slow, you want to bring the range up. If it seems a little fast, you bring the range down. Again, the range limits in my recommendation are 80 to 100, depending on the age of your controller, which controller you're using, all these other factors, all this junk. So basically, you want to have config 1, make sure that this is checked, not config 2. That doesn't actually matter, but I don't know in what scenario you'd use a different config. But in any case, you map the analog stick in a similar fashion as the buttons, except instead of a button, it's a stick motion. So for up, you go motion stick up, left, motion stick left, and so on. Make sure that the gamepad axes are the same, are like similar. So in this case, it's Y. You see Y-axis and not like Z or something weird. I can't get Z-axis to work because I have the dead zone so high, I believe. Let's see, I'll put it on 0, see what happens. Nothing. No, I can't get it different. Whatever. So sometimes that'll happen, and dead zone can help if you put it high just to map, not to play, just to map. So once you have all this junk mapped, should be good to go. Up, left, right, down. And then you go back to Devices tab, and you want to set your dead zone anywhere between 5 to 10. Lower number is for newer controllers. Again, if it seems a little fast for dead zone, put it slightly higher. If it seems a little slow, put it slightly lower. This is for dead zone. It's reverse for range, and it's different parameters. 80 to 100 versus 5 to 10. So you go ahead and set the dead zone to whatever you like. You might even need more than 10 depending on how insane your joystick is. I think PS3 might need around 10 or a little more if it gets too insane. But in any case, you mess around with that when you're testing your game. I use 6 or 7 because my controller isn't that new. Newer controllers use less dead zone. So all that out of the way, you save your profile to whatever you like. I already have mine set up. Mine is the boom adapter, as I've stated before. Save. Okay, you can name it whatever you like. Just make sure you save it. It's fine if you don't, but strong preference towards saving it because you don't have to map this again. Ideally, I want all of this process besides loading up games online and playing to be a one-stop process. So you set it all up one time, and then from then on you just play games. It's better for yourself. You have less hassle and all this junk. So save it. Save it. I'm gonna save this config, and now you go to File, choose ROM directory, and you navigate to the folder with all of your ROMs. So in my case, it's in my storage drive, ROM folder, N64 folder. Select, it'll populate a list just to be sure. I don't know why people tell you this, but it may help sometimes. You refresh ROM list. And whenever you add a ROM to your ROM folder, you either press F5 or refresh your ROM list. And I don't know if you remember what I said before, but whenever you make a change, you close and reopen. So I'm going to do that now so that all that settings are saved. And now that set the input plugin and the ROM directory is chose, now choose graphics. I recommend starting the graphics resolution at 640 by 480. Also, you're going to only be able to successfully play windowed resolution online, not full screen. If you choose full screen, or if you press Alt and Enter while you have the screen selected to go into full screen, it will just cause desync, which is basically you disconnect from other players, or other players disconnect from you, or whatever it is, depending on how many players it is that are in the game. So basically, don't use full screen online. Only use it offline. Just help yourself. Make it to where it doesn't desync off of some dumb stuff like that. Also, another way that it can desync easily is if raw data is checked. That's just phenomenally important. You really need to make sure that raw data is unchecked in the input plugin. Cannot stress enough. It causes a lot of desyncs and a lot of new players to quit because they get frustrated. So don't be one of those new guys that gets frustrated. Be one of those new guys that knows what's up. So you start your window resolution at 640 by 480. You can leave all these settings default or adjust them depending on how good you think your graphics card is. You can mess around to see if you get 60 frames or whatever frames it is in the game you play. Mario Kart's 30, Zelda, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time multiplayer 1 is 20, Smash is 60, PAL games are 50, whatever it is. You can just mess around with these settings if you want to get the best looking picture. If you set it up right the first time, you don't have to screw with it again. It'll just work well after that. So all this setting is just a one-time deal. After that, you just play. That's the goal. So in my case, my graphics card can just rape this whole emulator, so I can put everything up if I wanted to, but I will not for the case of this demonstration. So you start at 640 by 480, click apply, click OK. You made a change. You changed the settings, so you close and reopen so that those settings are changed. Now you test offline first. Extremely important that you test offline first, because if you go online, you made change settings and you didn't test them, then there was no point to go online, because if they suddenly don't work, then it's your fault, because you didn't make sure that they work. So before you go online, if you change anything, make sure that you test before you go online. It's very simple to do. You just start up a game and start playing. Ideally Smash Brothers, because it's so quick to just go into the game and just start playing right away. It's not like Mario 64. You get like this huge menu and you gotta, before you start playing. I guess it's fast, sure, but actually, yeah, Mario 64 is fast. I'm just a huge liar. But games like Zelda or Banjo-Kazooie, or just games that you can't just start playing quickly, I don't recommend testing with. But if those games are the only ones you're gonna play, go right ahead and test in those games. But make sure you test before you go online, just for the sake of yourself. So for Smash Brothers, the way to test if your joystick setup is good is if you can do smash attacks. If you can do smash attacks, you're probably good. You want to make sure you can do all of them. Right, left, forward smashes, up smashes, down smashes. And if you're an advanced player, see if you can pivot. And then do some aerial stuff like a cool kid. Or, whatever. In Mario 64, you test if you can do angled, those run back jumps or whatever. You run forward, or I'll actually display. I'll show you guys. So this works for me, okay, except the graphics plugin is pretty low, so I'm gonna bump it up a bit. And okay, still good. Not as big as it could be, so I'm gonna bring it up again. Okay, that's pretty adequate for online play. It saturates most of my screen resolution, or yeah, at least vertically, while not being oh man, I love this game. So this works well. My controllers work well. The graphics works well. There's no real delay, so I'm technically good to go online. You can also test in Mario 64. Just go to end emulation. Let's see. Nah, screw that. You guys can do it yourself. So now I made those changes to the graphics plugin. So I close and reopen. Again, you only close and reopen if you make a settings change. Very easy to do. One-time process. repeat infinite. Anyway, once you're done setting all that up, now you're finally ready to just learn about going online. So go to File, Start NetPlay, and you should see in the nickname box should be like username here. You edit the name to whatever your name, whatever your online handle is, or your name, whatever you'd like to be called online. So you name it there. You change the name there. And then you change the quit message is whenever you leave a server, your quit message will be displayed. If your quit message is blank, it will be the server default. The server default obviously varies on the server. So if a different server default. That's all. Connection setting. Higher is better. I could not possibly stress this enough. This is like raw data. If you don't use the highest possible packets per second, you're just getting a lesser gameplay for you're getting lesser gameplay for yourself, because higher packets per second mean lower input delay for you and others. So if you're playing a multiplayer game, you get less delay with more packets per second. So ideally, the tiers, the not tiers, the order in which it's best to least for the connection setting drop-down list would be LAN, excellent, good, average. It's basically how this is. More is better. Ping spoof. Ping spoof is basically you enter a custom ping, but the catch is that if you start playing a game, you can potentially run into a lot of lag if you set your ping too low. So let's say you get an average of 50 ping when you join server X, whatever the server is. So you can, I think it's like 4 frames. So you can spoof anywhere within the parameters of the frames that you get. And potentially, if your internet is good enough, up to one frame lower than the current. If you go beyond that, I strongly discourage that. You will probably get guaranteed lag. But basically the idea is you can spoof within the range of your standard ping. When you join a server, you get your ping display, and you can spoof within the range of that many frames of delay, and up to 1 frame lower. So within the range of 1 frame lower. So there's that information there. I strongly discourage you against using spoofing too low. Then you're going to get constant lag, because your internet connection will be compensating for the delay that you want to get. So you will get the lower delay, but the game will lag because it's got to keep up with your internet speed or distance or whatever it is. So that's ping spoof. Change mode. This is to change the net play window from P2P to client to playback. Ideally, most people, or at least normally, most people will just use the client feature and just leave it alone. But you're able to use P2P in order to directly connect to another player and play. The way P2P works is one player hosts, one player connects. The hosting player, or both players must have the same ROM. That's, first things first. And the hosting player needs to port forward whatever port they want to use. The default ports that are at least not default, but what a lot of people online use for ports. Doesn't matter. You don't need to use the same one, because it only matters if you're hosting. Is 27886 and 27888. You can use whatever port you wish, from 1 to whatever the range is for ports. Let system allocate port. When not hosting, leave that checked, because if you're connecting to someone, you allow the connected port to go through just by using the connect window. So change the nickname, change the username here, whatever. Delete this, put whatever it is there, whatever it is your name. And then if you're hosting, you forward your port from portforward.com, put in the model number of your router, or your modem or however you're connecting. Usually you cannot do this if you're at a university, college, or public Wi-Fi like a library or McDonald's or whatever. You usually cannot use port forwarding, but in some cases you can, and in those cases that you can, you may get in trouble right away. So I strongly discourage trying to host if you're at a university or using public internet. So you find out what to do with the port forwarding, get it forwarded. You select the ROM that you want to host, and then you copy your IP and port and paste that information. You know, it'll copy when you left click, and then you just Control V paste. I'm not going to show my IP and port, and it'll paste the info in text chat. So let's say you have you want to host and your buddy wants to join, so you go into a text chat with your buddy or whatever it is, and you paste the information there, and then he can join with those IP and port settings. So you click host, you choose your ROM, make sure you both have the same ROM, has to have the same name and must, or else you won't be able to join. You click host and you start hosting, and you get this window. Again, this is for P2P play. This is for directly connecting from one player to another. This is not for server play. You can use a server to play on server or set up games direct connect P2P. So you'll come up with this window. This is a chat area. This is a chat box. Click here when ready. That's what you want to do first. As soon as the other player joins, you go ahead and you both click here when ready, or you can chat a bit, whatever you want. You find out how many frames of delay you get. Now, ping in relation to delay is much different here than it is on servers. So it'll look a little different. It should be a little lower. Anyway, I mean the parameters should be higher for lower ping, or lower delay. So frame delay, enter custom frame delay. What you can do with this box is, in the same way that you can potentially go 1 frame of delay lower with ping spoof, you can do the same in P2P, maybe up to 2 in this case, but I would not recommend beyond 2, and it's really rough. You gotta have godly internet to get 2 lower than what is displayed. In order to see what is displayed, you click, both players click here when ready. You see the displayed frame delay. You can get 1 or 2 lower. In order to set 1 or 2 lower, all you do is drop game once you're in the game, and to test the ping and retry. There's a retry button. Additional frame delay, that's just adding more delay. It's only good if someone's computer's bad or the internet connection's choppy, or if you're getting slow gameplay. You can try that out. And basically all this is, add additional frame, is just custom frame delay but higher instead of lower. That's all this button is, just by 1. So this is just noob mode, easy. But you can set up custom 1, 2, 3, or 4 higher if you wish. Though I strongly recommend against higher delay, and you should see the benefits of lower delay right away. Anyway, the record game button will record the input data of both players to a KREC file in your Project 64 KVE folder, in the records folder. There's none here because there's none recorded. Those will be recorded there, and this is all for the P2P window. To drop game and select the new one, you have to get out of here and rehost. So there's that for P2P. Now, moving on to the playback window. This is where you can play back both P2P and online recorded files. So you get before you start playing, you tick the record game box. It'll record all input data from all players, because that's the only thing that gets sent on Chimera is input data. It's not, it's kind of cool. So you just record all the input data into a KREC file. You can play it back here, and basically what it does is it'll open up your emulator, and it'll be auto playing the match that you and the other players or one player played. So it's useful for recording a session and uploading to YouTube. So if your computer is unable to record while playing, or if it's too laggy, so you can play and use the record option, and then play it back later and record it with something, or stream it, or whatever you want. So there's that. And then Now, these buttons are self-explanatory: refresh, stop, play, delete. I don't think there's a pause, and I haven't used this much, so I don't really know much about it. I only used it a handful of times, so good luck with it. Now comes the main event, is the client server window. Again, this is going to be this screen again. Not going to explain these, I already did. Local list box. Connect button connects to a server. Ping will give you a ping display of a selected server. Whoa, what the hell? Oh, it's because I'm actually streaming this just to record, so I'm getting wildly inaccurate ping time. Okay. So, unless this server's down, whatever, it'll come with 4 servers, preloaded in the INI. You can delete them if you choose, and over here, you can also add servers. You can get server IPs from Google or forums, or other players that have IPs of Chilera enabled servers that are not on either of these lists. If these don't work, if these master servers list or anti-3D servers list do not work for you, you can find out server IPs, like I said, on forums, on Google, or by any friends you may have that also are into this Chilera stuff. So you can also select and edit server info, like the IP and name. You want to rename it, you can do that, or delete if you so wish. Custom IP, I'm going to be honest, I don't exactly know what this does, so if anyone does, let me know in the comments below, or on Smashboards, and the next video, the successor to this, with more info, will have that available. But for now, I can't condone the use of it because I don't know what it is or what it does. So I could guess, but it's not as good as being for sure. So, waiting games list. You'll see a list of the currently hosted games that are on all available anti-3D and master servers list servers. So you can sort by game name, emulator. These are all the useful ones: game name, emulator, and ideally ping. But ping doesn't show up, or location is the better one. So if you know your general geography, you kind of know which cities or server locations are closer to you. But the best ones to sort it by is game, emulator, and location. I'm going to close this for now. You cannot add servers to local list, and when you select a game to join, so let's say I'm using Project 64, this one, so let's say I wanted to join Odin's in Valhalla, Diddy Kong Racing. I'll double click, or you can highlight and connect. Oh, this guy's already playing, so whatever. This adds me to the server, and you get the server information at the top of the server, so you can copy it and come back, highlight, Control C, Control V, in order to copy paste the server. In this method, you can do that because you cannot add them to local lists. So close that for now, and then I will go to the next button, anti-3D servers list. This is basically, it's a server list. It's just a a list of Chilera enabled servers that you can use to play online. So it's one way to get servers on your local list. So you just click on whatever server it is, add to local list, and it should show up. And guess what that was? Yes, that was a settings change. So in order to keep that server that you selected here, you're going to want to close it fully out and then reopen. Oh, this is just a shortcut. I just made a simple shortcut. You can highlight, right click, drag, and create shortcut in Windows 7, XP, and Vista, and 8 I believe, but I don't know. So yeah, you just close and reopen to save settings for sure. And then master servers list is basically similar to Anti3D, except it's a different list, and about just gives you technically useless information, but it's good to know that Ona modded this, and like some other guy did some stuff. And Ona's a standard beast. What a god. Thanks for this shit, Ona. What a god. Anyway, now for server tutorial. So go into a server. It looks like Galaxy's down, so I will use West Wonderland. Okay, so this is what the server screen looks like. This huge box here is the chat box. All the server data and chat will show up here. Hello. And this is obviously the player list box. You have some options here. You can sort by ping, user ID, status, connection. You can see who are all the noobs who are not using LAN. Look at all these noobs. Let's see. They're also by name, ping. It standardly sorts by ping. I think that's something to do with the Calera client. Anyway, you can message someone by double-clicking their name, and that's one way. Another way is, let's see, the user ID of Mats is 36636 at the moment, so I'm going to type /MSG. This is the long way. You know, only if you don't have access to a mouse I recommend this, but there's another way. So /message 36636 and then space your message. Hello, this works as well. Test, this works too. See? Same thing. It'll show you your stuff, and that'll be that. So there's the player list. This is where you can type things, and it'll show up in the server box. Maths. You can click chat, and it's the same thing as clicking enter. Pressing enter. Type here. You press enter. It's the same thing as chat. Same as chat button. You click, same thing. And the create button is to create a game. I'll go over that in one moment. The next area of this server screen is the hosted games list. This is a list of all the hosted games that are on the server at the moment, and it's default sorted by status and then game ID, I believe. So yeah, you can move stuff around in this one and resize the window, whatever you like. It should, when you get it, it should be like this small or something. I don't know. I opened it up a bit. That is the entire window. You can move this around. Owner's a beast. Look at that shit. Look at this. What a god. Anyway, it's default sorted by waiting and playing. You can see who's waiting for people to play and then who's playing a game. You cannot join games which are being played right now unless... No, you just can't. Don't worry about it. The only unless is if you're an admin or moderator. Don't worry about that junk. So, you have a list of games here on the side. Make sure that the game name and emulator match with waiting as well. You need all these three parameters to be correct. It needs to be the same emulator that you have, the same name. Emulator, the same ROM, and there needs to be enough space in the game with users, and the status needs to be waiting. If those parameters are not met, you cannot join. Example, I don't have this emulator, they're already playing. There's so many things. Another thing here, you cannot join currently playing, so you're rejected. So that's how you join a game. You just click or double click and you can join, or right click here and then you get a list to create or join. You can also create from here, so you click create, you choose whichever game you like. This arrow sidebar list only shows up if you have a bunch of ROMs loaded. If you only have a handful, it should only be so big as many as ROMs you have, but if you have over a certain amount, I don't know what that amount is, it'll give you these slide windows. So I'm gonna demo with Smash Brothers, and this is what the game screen when you're in a game lobby, this is what it looks like. This is the players in the lobby are here. This is the lobby data here, and this is the lobby chat. This is also lobby data as well. You get server info and some other stuff. on an EmuLinker server, and you can chat here as well. Chat and join message. You can type a message there, and then whenever someone joins, you will auto say that message. So it could be a link or a greeting or whatever you like. Put it there, but you don't need it to play. So I'm gonna uncheck it. Now these buttons over here, the only ones that are available to the host are, it's the host only. It's start, kick, lag stat, lag reset. Those are the only ones that are available to specifically the host. So only the host can use these functions. But anyone can leave, drop, or modify their options or advertise the game. This record game box works the same as I described in the P2P section of the tutorial. Oh wow, my screen got a little red because of Flux. Flux is godly, by the way. You should get it. It saves your eyes from dying. So, the start button is self-explanatory. Drop button, it lets you drop from a game but stay in the lobby. Leave button will just leave the game and the lobby. But and both of these buttons, drop and leave, you'll stay in the server. The only way to leave the server is by closing the server window. That's how you can select another server or rejoin the server if there's a lag out. So, kick is, again, only available to the host. You select a name and you click kick, but I can't kick myself. That's dumb. Anyway, lag stat will just display, it's only for in-game, and it will display the lag spikes. It will not do anything else but display the lag spikes of each player. So, you want to see if you're potentially lagging or there's a little bit of lag, you want to see if it's someone's CPU or internet, you click lag stat or type /lag stat as the host and press enter, and you will get the lag stat ping spike display. Now in the same way that lag stat only displays, lag reset only resets that display. It doesn't actually reset lag, you noobs. You noobs. It doesn't help lag at all. It only resets the lag stat, that's the ping lag spike display, back down to 0 for all players. That's all it does. It does not actually fix lag. The only way to really fix lag is to do a multitude of things, you know. Close off other programs or, you know, physically move, like, you know, move your connection IP or modem to closer to the server, or just stop downloads on other computers, or turn them off, or turn off your Wi-Fi on your router, like turn off your Wi-Fi antenna. There's multiple things you can do to potentially stop lag. Locally, basically what you do is turn off all other programs besides this and potentially other messaging programs you have to talk with your buddies or message, whatever. Those shouldn't lag, but if they do, like AIM does sometimes if you have DSL, so you turn that off. Anyway, yeah, that's for lag reset. Options. All these are pretty self-explanatory except max players and max ping. Those are only available to the host, and max players just sets the maximum amount of players able to join, anywhere from 1 to 100. Max ping, I don't know why you would want 100 people in one game lobby, but whatever. Max ping, you can set the maximum ping allowed to join your lobby. A lot of servers have a ping limit just to join the server. So if your max ping for your lobby is higher than the max ping for the server, that's basically redundant. There's no reason for you to have a ping limit. So let's say this server's ping limit was 300 and my game ping limit was 350. It wouldn't matter. So the rest of these buttons are self-explanatory. The timestamps don't work on my computer for some reason. I have no idea why. They used to work, now they don't. I don't get. I never even. So whatever. Yeah, it's just timestamps is just it'll give you a timestamp beside players' messages versus no timestamp. So before their name, there would be you know, your local time, your system time. So I think that pretty much covers everything except for in-game. So I'm going to do a mini demo in-game. Even though there's no one in the game, this is a good example. In regards to Smash or other games, as soon as the game loads, the telltale sign for Smash is the N64 logo. Once the N64 logo is displayed, if you are host, you can then change the Game Shark settings and then or change the codes, and you uncheck and recheck whatever cheats you want, make sure they're checked, and you'll see sending cheats data here. Once that screen's gone, you can close the cheat box and start playing. If after you selected cheats the game froze, or you got a black box, or your whole screen went black but you still hear audio, you're able to go into options, configure graphics plugin, change the resolution to 1 notch lower, apply, and back up 1 higher, and then click OK. And you should be good to go from a frozen screen. That's the way to recover. So beyond that, you can do whatever you like with regards to different games and different codes, different people. Hope you have a lot of fun. I think this is the end of it, and I really hope that this recording grabbed my mic, because I really don't want to record it again, but I will if I have to. Alright, I hope this helped out any noobs, and if you have any more questions, or if I was unclear about any portion of any part of this tutorial and you need some more help, go ahead and give me a message on YouTube or Smashboards, or post in the comments below, and I can include those points in the future video. And again, I want to get some assistance from specific keyboard players, like not specific, but specifically from keyboard players, because the parameter stuff and default key setups I'd like to have set up there for them. But in any case, yeah, this has been Project 64K online multiplayer tutorial. This works for the XP version as well. Also, if when you're playing online it just freezes, or somebody gets lagged out, like FedEx or whatever, as some servers have displayed, you may need to task manager out. A way to get to task manager is, one way is Alt Control Delete and then click task manager. Another way is to just right click your taskbar and then click task manager, and you can see the list of tasks. You right click on it and then end process tree, left click, and you should be good to go and restart again. But again, a few things I can't stress enough. 1, uncheck raw data. 2, uncheck raw data. 3, make sure you have your ROM directories proper. 4, make sure that you test any changes you make offline first. And 5, close and reopen the whole emulator whenever you make any change. And that should be it. Oh yeah, 6, uncheck raw data. So that should be the end of the tutorial, and I hope this helps some noobs. And if you're not a noob and you just wanted some extra info, I gave some detailed info on other stuff, so hope this helps you too. And good luck playing online. I hope you guys have some fun. Peace.